Hey, welcome to the First Share Pamphlet. My name is Robin. I'm the host of this one-man show, coming to you every single Monday, 6 a.m. UK time. And today, first episode of September, we have to talk about the newest Sabrina Carpenter album. She's back. We've been waiting for her for a bit. She made us wait, to be fair, because I think the first single came out a good 3 months ago or something, and that's Manchild. And then ever since Manchild, we got absolutely nothing out of it. Like, we didn't get any other singles, and we did get an announcement and everything else, but we didn't get any other information, like, in terms of any other singles. Nothing until the 29th of August, which is this past Friday. So yeah, the album is here. I really want to talk about the album overall and how it stacks and it compares in comparison with Short and Sweet, which was of course a major success for Sabrina Carpenter, of course, and just for the pop divas in general. And then I do want to talk about also very quickly about the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce engagement, because also it happened this past Tuesday. So much has happened that really needs a bit of a discussion about it, and I'm here to provide that. I think I will first talk about the Taylor Swift situation. I want to talk first about the engagement. What's the meaning for this in terms of Taylor Swift's writing and music, and what future projects might look like, and how big of an impact this is, and how big of a situation this is for the fandom in general. Because I think overall, apart from the fact that she's a rich person and got married, I think it's just something that has wider implications in terms of her writing, because her writing is about her life, and the topics she's really become famous for are heartbreak and relationships and love stories and all that stuff. And now with an engagement and a wedding coming in the very immediate future, it might change the fundamental core of Taylor Swift's writing and brand. But anyways, let's get into it. I think basically what happened was, where to begin? I guess on Tuesday, Taylor Swift dropped a photo, a series of photos on her Instagram, announcing basically that she was she was engaged to Travis Kelce. Of course, they've been dating for a couple of years now, I would say. I think it's been 2 years. And I would say overall, it didn't come as a shocker in a way. I was expecting her to get engaged to him, or to be quite frank. And I think what really solidified this was her appearance on Travis's and his brother's podcast, which I have covered extensively about, where she announced her new album. Please go check out that episode as well, because I talked a lot about this. It's good context, I guess. But that sort of, to me, solidified that she was actually very, very committed to his man. Like, the way they interacted with each other, was just very, he seemed to be very, very, committed in that sense. And so yeah, I was expecting sort of a situation like this to happen sooner rather than later, but I did not expect it to be this soon. I thought she was going to announce it after the album was out, after the new album was out, which is still quite a long way. It's still, a month to come, basically. But I thought she was going to do it after the album, because maybe she did. I thought she was not going to want to take the spotlight away from the album itself. But I think, now that I think about it, I think it's still a good move to announce it now, because as I said, the album is still a month away, so it's not too close to the release that people are going to forget about the album and focus more on the engagement. But also it's also close enough that I think people will care to look into the album to see if there's any signs about any songs that are dedicated to him, or any connection between the two. And it's also great promotion for the album itself, I would say. So And for both of them, even for Travis Kelce, I think it's great. It's great promo and all that stuff. But overall, very, very happy for the girl. I think it's something that she explained multiple times in her albums, at least in her music, that she really was, sort of striving to achieve. Not necessarily the idea of marriage itself, but mostly like a story with a man that would end up in a long-lived relationship, right? And she's not new to many breakups, and that's been highlighted in many of her songs, even the most recent ones in the Torture Poets department, about, for example, Prophecy, how she sort of resigned herself to this situation, this condition that she was in, of endless breakup and endless hurt, hurt, I would say. So to go from that to this is quite refreshing and quite beautiful to see, quite frankly. I think also, if you've been a fan of her music since the very first beginning, she's always been like a very wide-eyed girl, and like with a lot of great ideals like about love and romance. And so to see someone who has wrote up extensively about this topic and has wanted this for the longest time, to find someone who actually truthfully matches her, it's quite beautiful to see, and I'm very happy. I mean, again, also what people need to remember, I guess, overall, is that we truthfully don't know these people at all. Like, the only thing we can judge, I guess, from in that sense, is from her lyrics and her songs, and you can sort of surmise what she's like, looking for in that sense, and what she was idealizing and all that stuff. But I think overall, the parasocial relationship that Taylor herself has built and has curated, I think, has gone so far that I've seen different camps of the Swifties react in so many vastly different ways. Both deranged, I would say, all of them were deranged in some ways. Some people literally bawling their eyes out and being like, acting like they know, like it's like their sister getting married, or their sibling, or even worse, like projecting their own fantasies over her, like onto her, basically. So that's crazy. That's get a grip. Like, she's just like a woman getting married, and she's a billionaire, so she's so fine. It's a great, as I said, it's a very emotional story for the fans, and I don't want to take away from us in that sense. But I think also, at the end of the day, she deserves to be happy, and that's about it. Like, she's getting married, slay, cute. Let's move on. But also, another Gaylors, the Gaylors, who basically is a faction, for those who don't know, who have been battling since since maybe 1999, that she is actually secretly a lesbian who is forced to be like by her parents into like these straight relationships, while secretly she's dating other women. Frankly, fucking ridiculous. I can't believe I'm even uttering the words. But yeah, they've been in scramble. Some of them are like not accepting of this and saying like, oh, this is all a cover up once more, because it is a conspiracy theory basically at this point. So they would take any, like, they would be so nitpicky that nothing was ever going to like satisfy them. Others are instead like going abandoning the ship and saying like, oh, this is it, she's abandoned us, and this is not it, and all that stuff. Well, you know what, I find actually this faction of the fandom quite repulsive almost, because how the fuck can you claim to know a person that you have never met, mind you? How can you claim that you know so much about them to the point where you can their sexuality and who they're dating and what's their preference and all that stuff? I don't know shit about Taylor, but the only thing we can judge herself on is just her actual public relationships that she's been openly with, in that sense. She's been open about it, she's talked about it in an open way, and she's been properly seen, like papped by her own volition sometimes as well with. So we can only work, and it's fair to do so. I think it's fair to just work with what she wants us to know, because at the end of the day, whatever happens behind closed doors is her own damn business. And for all these people to lose their fucking minds, get a grip, get a life, touch some grass, go outside, just find a hobby, do something with your life, because it's just frankly just ridiculous, honestly. But yeah, so that's that. I would say quite the eventful the eventful Tuesday. It was definitely it definitely sent the internet on a frenzy. But I think what's very interesting now is to see what's gonna happen next. Most of all, like what she's gonna do with her new projects, her music. And I said as a concept, I've said that already she's the chronicle. She's famous for chronicling the the breakups, not simply her own, but translate her own emotions into universal experiences. And she's a chronicler of breakups and heartache in that sense. So it's quite interesting to see what she's how her music is going to evolve into, because at the end of the day she's also proven capable of writing great love songs. She's written so many great love songs in Folklore, Evermore, Lover, even Enchanted, Speak Now, all these songs, or even Debut, to be fair. There's so many great songs. And I think, of course, she's become more famous for her heartache, heartbreak, and sort of low-key vengeful songs against her exes, maybe, if that's what people think about her, basically. But she's definitely also proven herself to be quite the romantic person. And say what you want about anything, but her most streamed song to this day on Spotify is Cruel Summer, and that song is not necessarily about heartache. It's more about falling in love with someone you think is not going to work out with necessarily, but it is about that. It's new, the shape of your body, it's blue, the feeling I got, it's developing a crush, basically, and falling in love. And she has Lover, also the song itself. She's definitely capable of all these things, and I am excited to see that. And also, it's not out of the realm that she's gonna keep on writing about maybe fictionally about other people or other experiences or other emotions, and maybe she can move on to different topics and develop different I'm sure, I'm not worried at all in that sense. I'm actually more curious to see where it's going to go next, in that sense, what she's going to explore further. And I also, exploration of how, her relationship is as well is going to be quite interesting as well for her music. So I'm quite keen on that. But before we get to that, and I don't want to know too many details. I don't think she will share too many details about her private life with Travis in her music, because, it's not ideal to do that, I think, especially when you are currently with a person. So yeah, I do think this next project, the one that's coming out soon in October, The Life of a Showgirl, that might have some songs of them, specifically the two of them, but I think overall the direction seems to be quite specific and quite about more about her and her life behind the scenes in the Eras tour. So a lot of everything. I think it's going to be some love, some heartache, some fun, some reflections on her own fame. So see, this is already proving to you that she's her skill set is quite wide and widespread, and she can reach different areas of meaning and topics in that sense. So I'm quite excited. So, and I'm ready first to have a proper bop of an album, just fun songs, and then she can do whatever she wants with the rest of her projects. So yeah, I think that's the very exciting part about this all. And yeah, I about the ring, people have been speculating on if it's a real ring, if it's what is it called, synthetic diamond, or a real one, or one grown in a lab or not, whatever. I don't give a fuck. Personally, I do not give two shits about that. I just think she looked very, very happy, and that's all I really care about. So congratulations to her and to Travis, and slay. I think that's literally the closest thing that America can come to a royal couple. So that's that. Yeah. Let's move on to the other topic, the major one, I guess, the bigger one, the more extensive one, is Sabrina Carpenter's newest album, Man's Best Friend. And again, as I already talked about, this was quite the anticipated album, by everyone basically. And in my previous episode, I was sort of giving a prelude to this album as well. I was basically reflecting on how pop has been quite stale and underwhelming this year, especially during the summer, but just overall in general. We haven't had a very, a massive pop moment except for K-pop demon hunters, but we haven't had a properly, from your average pop star. We haven't had a proper smash hit or a memorable pop moment. And I was talking in my previous episode about like how the year was not over yet, so there was still some hope, and the next big projects to look into were this one, Doja Cat's album, and then of course Taylor Swift's album. So how did this album perform in my personal view? I think overall the album is, I want to give a general overview and then I'll go into the tracks a bit more specifically, but overall I think the album is pretty good. I don't know if it yields the same pop banger hit that Short and Sweet was, but I would say it's still a pretty solid project. The Sonics are definitely like in the same realm of Short and Sweet, but there's a slight demarcation, I think, of where like Short and Sweet ends and where Man's Best Friend begins. Short and Sweet is definitely more California soft rock to me. Like it feels more like that type, more cohesive in that direction. While I think here it's more maybe like 80s disco meets country, if that makes any sense. Like it's a very ABBA coded album in that sense, and it does remind me so much of Mamma Mia, the movie, the musical, in that sense as well. And I do believe, she's talked about it, I believe, before, and she's a sort of a fan of this, and she's been, I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but she's been fan cast in the Mamma Mia 2 situation. If it's actually going to happen or not, I don't know, but yeah, I think, but they still exist in the same sphere, the two albums. I think they're definitely interlinked, as she also talked about in some interviews. It's sort of like a continuation of Short and Sweet, but this is like more on the other spectrum of Short and Sweet, which is like the more, country-esque and disco-esque 80s influence ABBA overall. But yeah, so now I also want to talk about this specifically. It would be, of course, unfair to compare, I think, overall this album to Short and Sweet, because Short and Sweet is something completely different, something completely, unreachable. I think it's such a special moment that it's very hard to replicate. It's like honestly impossible to replicate. I think it's impossible to live up to that moment. And I'm not specifically talking about like the album songs wise, but more like the moment itself that it had. So on the one hand, I think it's impossible to not compare it, but I think also it's impossible to like live up to expectation, I think, if that makes any sense. Like, Short and Sweet gave us songs like Espresso, Please Please Please, Taste, like 3 songs that, are in their own right unrepeatable by themselves, and let alone managing to repeat the same singles run that Short and Sweet had is close to impossible, I think. So this album cannot be deemed a failure in comparison just because it's that difficult to follow up Short and Sweet, I think. And it was always going to be underwhelming no matter what she put out. Now, is this project weak? I would say it has some aspects that could have been improved for sure, but I do think it is quite solid, to be fair. Like, it's a pretty solid pop moment. But unfortunately, I would have to argue once more that this is not going to have the grip that Short and Sweet had on the culture. I fear. We're not looking at another big moment for pop music, another, missed opportunity, maybe that's what we could call it. I think that it does have some stand-up tracks for sure, but I do also think that Sabrina got a bit lost in the sauce, maybe. The songs are not as gripping and raunchy and biting as Short and Sweet songs are, but don't get me wrong, like the tongue-in-cheek element is, which is now her brand, is definitely there, but it does not feel as intentional and as brilliant and clever as Short and Sweet. So yeah, Short and Sweet was pretty successful in using raunchy lyrics in surprising ways by placing them in very specific points of the songs to provoke like a specific reaction on a specific emotion and memorable moment in the listener. Like the "Have you ever tried this one" lyric, or the bridge in Juno as well, or the very clever outro in Slim Pickings, and so on and so forth. Like what a coincidence as well. The whole song itself is quite biting in that sense. So I think unfortunately some songs then become slightly boring on this on Man's Best Friend. Oh my god, slightly boring and forgettable. But nevertheless, as I said before, we do have some highlights for sure. So let's get into the track list and see what the rage is all about. So Manchild is the first single and the first song on the album. If you haven't heard of the song, Where Do You Live? You're Living on a Rock. It yielded a #1 for her, and I think that was the capital that she accumulated from Short and Sweet as well. Definitely pushed it, and even the capital she had from the album is definitely also pushing this album quite a bit in terms of streams and everything. But we'll see about longevity in that sense. We need to just wait and see how it evolves. But yeah, Manchild, definitely a good song that belongs in the caliber of her best tracks on Short and Sweet, I would say. Fun, tongue-in-cheek, silly, the music video is incredible. So fun and so camp. Also, dare I say, it has one of Sabrina's best bridges that she's ever made. So good. This is more like on the country side of it all, and that is quite, quite working for her, I would say. Like, she definitely took inspiration from the Please 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 of it all. I think that was very, very successful for her. Please 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 was not an outright country song, but it definitely had a twang and a country element to it. And then this definitely is the more country forward album in that sense, and more filled with country adjacent songs. So, and Manchild is the greatest example of it all. So yeah, slate. Then she follows Manchild with Tears, which is her second single that came out with the album. Again, incredible video. Once again, I have to give it up to her, because she has been keeping the tradition of the culture of music videos alive. She has incredible taste when it comes to music videos. So cinematic, so fun, so unique and memorable. It's just the visuals of any albums she's had as of from Short and Sweet and even emails I can send it, to be fair. They're all so memorable. But yeah, just incredible video. No, Mama here this is where we cook again, I think. I was not entirely sure at first about the song, to be fair, but after the third listen, probably, I was hooked immediately. So it's very disco. This is the disco element, the very ABBA forward element, I think here comes through. Very disco, very fun, very cheeky. I get wet, I thought of you, tears running down my thighs. That's the lyrics a bit. She's crazy, she's insane for that, saying that, you can already tell what the song is about, I guess, from, these lyrics, maybe. Very sexy song, very, daring, which is very, very fun. Also, again, I want to applaud Sabrina for not shying away from these things, being very forward in that sense. And then, the dance break here in the song, and in the actual song, the instrumental as well, very, very good. Very, very fun, so disco, so lovely. I'm in love with the song. I think it's very catchy. It's really very successful. Hopefully it's going to perform well on the charts as well. Third song is My Man on Willpower. The song is cute, I think. Not one of my favorites, I would say. I do think, though, that the production is very Mamma Mia the Musical coded, like some of the rest of the album, as I said. I like the chorus here. The melody's catchy. In the chorus, the verses are a bit less catchy, maybe. They're okay, but not as impactful as the chorus is. A bit maybe too musical-esque, which might turn off some people. I love it, but maybe, not what people are looking for. And this is a song about a man who has too self-control and has too much willpower. He's too comfortable in changing his mind on when to pursue Sabrina or when to just completely forget about her altogether. So, fun, very funny. But I do think the writing here is, I like the concept of it all, the willpower situation of it all. Why do you have so much willpower that you can change your mind whenever? And There's not much standing out apart from that, I think. So that's that about the track. Then we follow through with Sugar Talkin'. Can we consider this a power ballad? Is it a safe space to say this is a power ballad? I think it might be. In my opinion, in my books, it might be a power ballad. More country, more on the country element for sure. Yeah, I mean, Sugar Talking is basically like about her man. Like she wants her man basically to prove to her that he actually likes her. She doesn't want to be sugar talked. She says, "Put your loving where your mouth is." You know, this track is okay though. I do like the instrumental break. I do like it, but I do not think it's particularly catchy or daring lyrically, and she's a bit plain. The song is a bit plain coming from Sabrina. So yeah, not a standout to me, this one. Then we have We Almost Broke Up Again Last Night, another power ballad. I like the instrumental here, very orchestral. I really like the production here quite a bit. A lot of violence, a lot of like stringy instrumentals. Very, very cool. Really enjoyed that. You can also tell what this song is about from the title, I guess. Like, We Almost Broke Up Again Last Night. Nothing too unexpected in the content. I think it's quite, again, predictable, and nothing too, gripping about the lyrics. Nothing too crazy about the lyrics, or the moment itself. The song is cute. I would, if I were to listen to the song again, it would be mostly for the production, if I have to be honest. Then we go into Nobody's Son. I love the production here. By the way, the whole album is produced by Jack Antonoff, and I mean most of the songs are, and you can really tell that man is so bloody talented. Like the production here, I have zero notes. Like every single song has such a rich production behind it. So very, 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 very happy with that. But yeah, Nobody's Son is. And the verses that are almost reggae, if I have to be honest. Like there's a bit of that reggae, like tropical element, very interesting. But also it does have a bit of an ABBA flavor again in the chorus. There's Nobody's Son left for me to believe it, and that's what she says in the song. Like similar in content to Slim Pickings, I would say. That's what I was thinking the whole time I listened to the song. But I do think, unfortunately, Slim Pickings is the winner. Like in terms of it accomplishes much more. And the writing is so much clever and so much more clever and so much more interesting on Slim Pickings than Nobody's Son. Very similar songs in content, I would say. Now, other song is Never Getting Laid. This has more of a R&B influence in the verses, most of it. The chorus is a bit more, again, ABBA maybe. Production very vibey though. Funny chorus, very funny chorus. Wishing the boy who did you wrong all the worst. Love you just the same, she says. Just hope you get agoraphobia someday. Wishing you a lifetime full of happiness and forever of never getting laid. Very, very funny. This is a Sabrina I want. Funny, clever, sharp. Loving it. So much fun. So yeah, I think this is like writing wise very much a highlight for the album. Very, very cool. It's a good, track for the album, I would say. Very, very, very nice. Production is among all the songs though, I think the least interesting maybe. I do like it though. I do listen to it every now and then because of the lyrics. It's very, very fun. So yeah. Next one is When Did You Get Hot. This song reminds me a bit of Carly Rae Jepsen, if I have to be honest. Maybe I'm thinking specifically of, what is that one called? Weekend Love from her latest album. It came out like a couple of years ago. But it's a very cool track. The writing is, again, not as interesting as it could be. And the melodies, I would say, are also not as catchy. And When Did You Get Hot, you can, understand what it is about. Like, wondering, oh, what a surprise. Like, when did you get hot again? That's, pretty much it. Nothing too crazy about that. Then we have Go-Go Juice, and here is a great highlight. Very fun, very country, very energetic. This is a song about drunk dialing, basically, like calling your boys, your mans, your girls as well, your friends. And Go-Go Juice is basically another term for alcohol, like here we go again. Like when I got drunk, I started like, doing a lot of shit. But she's a lot of fun. Another great instrumental break here as well. I think it's very catchy, it's very fun, very upbeat. Yeah, if I were at a country club, I would I would get turned up to the shit, I would do that for sure. So I would say if you want a more like upbeat moment, like, or like if you want to follow up Manchild, the song, this is it. Then we have Don't Worry, I Will Make You Worry, another ballad here. I think she's on the shorter side, and it's unfortunately pretty forgettable. Sounds like it could be on emos I can't stand, and if you like that vibe, then maybe this is for you, but I think it doesn't quite hit the spot where it's at. It's just not as interesting as some other songs on this album, maybe. Let's just say that. Then we have House Tour. This is raunchy Sabrina again. Very fun, very disco. There's something missing in the song, I think. I don't know what it is. Maybe the chorus is not as catchy as it could be, but the production is fire. The house in question is her body, basically. So I really like the wordplay here, I guess. Come inside the back door. Very silly, very fun. Just very, very funny. So I would say yay to this, 100%. That's a standout for me. Very, very fun product. Actually, some of the most interesting production on this album, I would say, is quite disco-y maybe, but not. I can't really like place it in, to be fair, but it's very, very fun. I would say definitely listen to this one. And then we get to the ending. It's only 12 tracks this album, by the way, and it runs to 38 minutes for a total of 38 minutes. So it's not a long album, but it's the same sort of length as Short and Sweet. So yeah, but the closer for this album is my favorite song on the entire album, and is Goodbye. This is the most ABBA song she's ever made. Like, this reminds me of Voulez-Vous by ABBA, but then with like, her very funny writing. Yeah, it's very, very funny writing, catchy hook, catchy productions. The pre-choruses are very witty, like it's very disco-y as well. Very witty and funny. The song is so memorable. The pre-choruses are the best ones, I think. The second one specifically is my favorite one, like Arrivederci, Au revoir, forgive my French, but fuck you, ta-ta. So funny. So good. The bridge is funny. The pre-choruses are funny. The choruses are super, super catchy. Goodbyes means you're losing me for life. When you say goodbye, that's it for me. Like, you are the one who said goodbye. So in my books, once you say goodbye one last time, like the first time you say goodbye to me is the last. I'm not going to stand around and wait for you. If you say goodbye, that's it to me. That's just the way it is. And yeah, relatable. Very relatable. If you say goodbye to me, I'll take it, but don't you dare come back, because for me, my chapter is closed, girl. My book is closed. I'm not letting you in anymore. So yeah, I mean, and that's with the album ends. So overall, it is a good album, I would say. As I said, like, it's not near, like, damn close. It's not even close to Short and Sweet in terms of how iconic it is, maybe. But it definitely has some catchy songs, some highlights from her discography for sure. And it's a fun addition to the Short and Sweet soundscape. Now, what I do want from her for the next time she comes up with an album is to first take more than 1 year to make an album. Even a year and a half, but definitely more than 1 year to do it. And still venture in this, like, specific tongue-in-cheek writing that she has, but maybe take the sound elsewhere and take the topics elsewhere, maybe, like, maybe something different. I think also specifically because, like, her shtick is, like, very much about these very tongue-in-cheek moments. She cannot release the same topics all over and again, like, you can only get sexy only these many times, you know what I mean? So get a bit more of a break maybe, and come up with like a different sound for the next one in terms of influence, and I think she definitely has the taste for it to, like, you know, get inspired pretty well, but definitely keep the, you know, the funny element to it. So because that's your brand, girl. That is your brand. So yeah. But overall, still stream the album. I think it's definitely worth a listen. And the more you listen to it, the more you get, you know, in love with the songs. So give it a go. I think give it a spin. Give it a spin 100%. So I will put a couple of songs from this album into the playlist of the month. We're starting a new one for September, 100%. So you can just find the Overshare Pamphlet Songs of the Week September 2025 on Spotify. You can just search it up, and that will be the playlist for this month, for September. Yeah. What else am I going to put into this playlist? I do want to put in Boy by Stacey. That is, like, someone needs to explain to me why Stacey's B-sides are always so fire, and they're, I dare I say, sometimes even better than their top tracks. Boy is just perfection. So good. So good. And I don't think I've talked about Jealous Type by Doja Cat. I don't think I have. And I need to talk about this. Because Jealous Type is that girl. Is that girl for real. Oh no, I think I have. Didn't I? Oh, I did. It was in my previous episode. No, never mind. So forget about that. The other song, last song maybe that I want to put in is Sword by Ian Sweet. Don't know much about the Ian Sweet of it all, but this song is quite R&B maybe. I would venture to say it's quite like an unknown artist as well. Like, you know, I don't even know much about Ian Sweet, but very interesting, you know, indie R&B record maybe. Very, very cool. Very, very catchy. Quite vibey. I think if you like more of that, you know, indie sound, this could be for you. Quite interesting, like, melodic composition for the song, I think. It's quite fun. But yeah, I mean, this is a great song. I definitely recommend checking it out if you are up for something a bit more interesting, 100%. And yeah. Ooh. So enjoy the rest of the week. I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.